Peace. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. I'm Sahana and Sorry here. Just giving an update on my whole health situation. And let me say, I don't just do these videos for the sake of like telling everybody my business, but I thankfully have been able to find people on YouTube that I can go to who have been through health issues that I'm going through, and it helps immensely because oftentimes doctors, they will give you the medical aspects of a procedure or of what's going on, but they don't really give you the nuts and bolts of what you're going to be going through, or all that kind of stuff. And so having the ability to go online and hear real life stories and advice and such from people who have gone through what you might be going through, I think is really helpful. And so that's why I'm doing this. So this is an update from last week and today is Friday, August 7th, 2020. So last weekend I had to go to the ER again because what my issue is, last year, a little over a year ago, about a year and a quarter ago, I guess, it turned out I had bilateral pulmonary embolism, which means I have blood clots in both my lungs. And they couldn't figure out why I got them because I don't smoke, I'm not on birth control, like all these aspects or things that normally cause blood clotting in the body. I was not, I wasn't predisposed to getting clots. And so after they did tests, because they were like, this makes no sense, why does she have this? They found out that I have a genetic blood disorder called factor V Leiden mutation that had never popped up before, which alhamdulillah, I'm very glad that it didn't pop up. Normally women find out about it during childbearing years, when you're pregnant and stuff like that. I never had any issues at all with any of my 4 pregnancies. And so, that's a good thing that it didn't pop up then. But so on top of that, they also found out that I have fibroid. And so last year, the fibroid made my uterus 5 times its normal size. Which, if believe it or not, the uterus is so tiny. Like, it can literally fit in the palm of your hand and still be space. But so yeah, last year it was 5 times the normal size, and then last week they gave me another what do you call? I'm losing my words. Ultrasound, a uterine ultrasound, and found out that it grew about double what it was last year. I forget what the exact dimensions were. I wrote it down, but I think it was like double what it was last year. So in saying all that, so because of the blood disorder that I have to take blood thinners because it is a blood clotting disorder, which means my blood clots more than it is supposed to. So the blood thinners, along with the fibroid itself makes me bleed extra heavy when I have my menstrual cycle. And so lay on that blood thinners, I bleed extremely heavily during my cycle. And then on top of that, I know this is all very personal, but I'm a nurse, it's just biology to me. But add to that, I've always gotten my cycle every 22 days. And so it's just really bad. when I get my cycle. Like, I can't. It used to be the past maybe 5 or so years. It's gotten worse, of course, in the past couple of years. But I'm trying to get my thoughts right. But so yeah, I bleed really, really heavy. I cannot go outside. It used to be like the first 2 days. Now it's more like the first 3 days of my cycle. I can't go out because it's so heavy. And so now what has started happening is I'm bleeding so much that I'm losing too much blood. So my iron is dropping super low, and I'm just losing blood, like far too much blood. So let's see, week before last I had to go to the ER, and so they wound up giving me a blood transfusion, a pint of blood, because I lost so much blood. My cycle had just ended like maybe like a week before. But like, no, not even a week before, a few days before. But I had been sick in bed for 2 weeks. I couldn't get out the bed. It never dawned on me that it would be like my iron, or I was losing too much blood, you know. So I was just in bed sick, trying all these other things that I thought, you know, was the culprit, until I just had to go to the ER because like I almost passed out when I like went to the store. It's just like crazy. So they gave me blood. Lo and behold, 3 weeks later, I get my cycle again. But this time, I understood what my body was going through and realized, like, no, I'm losing too much blood. And so I went to the ER last weekend. And that time, they wound up keeping me for 3 days, I think. Well, like 2 days. I went in Friday, late Friday afternoon, and I got out Sunday afternoon. So I guess about 3 days. This time, like, they kept going back and forth about whether I needed to get blood or not, but they really didn't want to go that route. So they ended up giving me a liter of iron. And also they gave me an antibiotic because they found like a little bit of yeast in my urine, which makes sense because I had my cycle. So they gave me IV antibiotic, and then they gave me IV iron, and my hemoglobin kept dropping still. So then the following day they gave me another liter of iron, and actually the last one they gave me was Sunday, and my vein is still distended here, which means it's sort of like hard and like poking up, kind of like swollen, because the iron is really, really harsh. It burns and everything, man. I was like, oh my god. So yeah, that was that. So of course I cannot do this every 3 weeks, having to go into the hospital and get either a blood transfusion or iron or both, God forbid. It's just too much. So last year they spoke to me about getting a hysterectomy. That freaks me out because first and foremost, like, I work within the modern medical industry, but I'm very much like a naturopathic type of person. And so where is my store? And so that really freaks me out. And on top of that, even though I don't necessarily plan on having more children, I just turned 48 about a week ago, still, it doesn't mean, I don't want to give up the choice to be able to do so. And my uterus is a part of me, you know what I mean? With all of my children, and this is like a cultural thing, Islamically, but with all of my children, like, we take the placenta and we bury it and stuff like that. Is, you know, that whole thing is very ritualistic to me. It's very, you know, personal, and it just freaks me out. And then of course I read somewhere, I don't know how accurate it is, but I did read somewhere that 70% of the hysterectomies that are done yearly, 70% of them are to black women. Now, call it what you will, but that is frightening to me. And I don't know if it's 70% or not, but what I found out is that when I started talking to my girlfriends, women who I've known for for years and years and years, when I said to them about, when I spoke to them about possibly needing to get a hysterectomy, I was in disbelief how many of my friends were like, oh girl, I got that. Ooh, I love it. I'm like devastated, like what? But after a whole lot of bawling and stuff like that, I said, okay, I'll go ahead and do it, because when you think of the alternative, and that's what it is. I'm not one of those people who just be like, don't do it, the white man. No, some stuff the white man medicine is good for. And I'm very much an herbal type girl. But maybe I can focus now that I stopped driving. So yeah, that's what they said, that I would do that. But because of the blood disorder that I have to have blood thinners. So the doctors concluded that it would be too dangerous for me to get a hysterectomy, because they would have to stop the blood thinners in order for me to get the surgery, which means that I could bleed out. And so I could bleed out, or I could either get a life-threatening clot because I wouldn't be on the blood thinner. So they said, no, that's a no-no. So the other alternatives that I was given, besides the whole drastic thing of, being cut open and having my uterus ripped out, essentially, was that I always forget the name of this injection, but there's an injection that you can get, I think it's like every 3 months or something, that will stop the bleeding. I didn't want to get that because I don't do vaccines. And when I looked up that particular vaccine, it seemed like it was very, very dangerous. They have had so many, not recalls, but there's so much information out that says it's not a good thing. So I said, no, I'm not doing that. And then the third thing was I could get blood transfusions like every month. I'm like, I ain't doing that. Just to get what I got a few weeks ago was so hard for me, not because I thought that, like AIDS or HIV would be passed through, or hepatitis or something, because they tend to do a pretty good job, from what I understand, with making sure the blood is clean. But just the idea of having someone else's blood in me was just like freaky to me. I know. And so, but of course, I always try to balance out, okay, like, let's look at the whole picture. What would be the best thing to do? And of course, I call my BFF forever, ever. And, I always call him because he can look at things from a more logical, or like outside of the situation primarily, and look at things. So he was like, no, just go ahead and get it. I think you should get it. And so that's what I did. And I'm very glad I did, because almost immediately I felt better. So anyway, but I don't want to do that every month. No way. And so where I am now is that, and this is funny because they didn't actually put this on the table at first. Like I said, I was given 3 options. And then when the hysterectomy fell through, then it was like, well, you can't do that. So there's this thing called an endometrial ablation. And I'm like, what's that? But for whatever reason, I'll leave that. I'm not going to, try to figure it out on my own. and come up with some theory that may or may not be accurate. But so yeah, the endometrial ablation is what I am opting for now. And so I took a whole 15 minutes to get to this. My apologies. But so that's what I'm going to wind up getting done, the endometrial ablation. And what that is there are a couple of ways that they can do it, but essentially it's them burning the outside lining of the uterus, because every month, you know, our hormones trigger the endometrius to thicken to prepare for a baby. And so when you don't become pregnant, it's not needed, and so it like kind of sloughs off or sheds, and that's what we call your menstrual blood. It's not blood per se, but that's what that is. So what they do is they burn that, and it's like a 15-minute procedure. The gynecologist told me 10 to 15 minutes. So they burn that while I'm asleep. And then what happens is when the hormone the next month or whatever, the rest of your life or the rest of your childbearing time, what happens is the hormone still produces, but there's nothing there. It can't thicken. And so if nothing thickens, then there's nothing to shed, and thus you will no longer have a cycle. But the catch, what I found out by listening to all these wonderful women who have done YouTube videos about this, what I found is that at least like somewhere around 6 months or something for some people, your body is used to doing certain things like clockwork, you know what I'm saying? And so even though there's nothing there, your uterus is used to contracting and shedding and all that kind of stuff. And so that's what it does. Like, so when you're supposed to normally get your cycle, you still go through all the cramping and stuff like that. Like whatever you will go through normally, your body still takes you through that, because it's not getting like, listen, we're messing with nature here. That's what it is. But for me, again, what is the bigger picture here? I can't keep losing blood every month and like passing out and stuff like that. And I know people want to just up and say like, no, sis, you can do this, you can do that. It's not that easy. First of all, when you take herbal medicine and naturopathic medications, it takes time. It takes time. I mean, I had people telling me like, oh no, do this, and you need cupping to get rid of your genetic blood disorder that has existed for God knows how many generations. Or, you know, it's just, everything is not going to be healed right away, or sometimes even as what's the word, one of the things with losing iron and stuff, it gives me mental fog, not to mention fatigue and oh gosh, but yeah, herbal things usually don't work right away. It takes time. I don't have time. And also, it may not be as efficient, is the word I'm looking for, as efficient as the white man's medicine, call it what it is. So nonetheless, I'm going to go on ahead and do these things, get the ablation, inshallah, and then deal with the after effects. And I'm really not looking forward to it. I've never had surgery before. I've never had to be like put asleep or anything like that, or give total control up to somebody else, especially someone that I don't know. So this is very scary for me. It's not something that I'm taking lightly, but I do look forward to not having to deal with these issues that I deal with. Not only does it affect me physically and mentally and such, it of course also affects my home life, because it dictates what I can do, what I can offer to my family, and the tasks that, are mine, is being part of a team. We all have responsibilities, and so that messes with me being able to fulfill my responsibilities. But also, it absolutely affects my work, so my livelihood, because I can't, right now I'm out of work. I had to quit my job. I think I made a video about that already, but it just has to do with the COVID and everything. Like, so many people around me were dying and popping up positive, my co-workers and such. And so, because I worked in a nursing home, so I had to get out of there because of my health issues. And so it was right on time, actually, because I got far worse because of this situation that I've been talking about. So it affects that. It affects me being able to work. It affects me being able to find another job, because, like I said, I can't even go out. And then when I don't have my cycle, it was affecting me. I didn't realize what it was, but I'd be like, feeling faint and like getting super high, and I can't do anything. I have to sit down. You cannot work for people doing that. I'm absolutely working on starting my own businesses, because I worked for myself for well over a decade. But even that, just these health issues, everything is just a little bit difficult to get going. And so that is where I am. So from a little over a year ago, not understand. Well, I did know that something was going on with my body. I just didn't know what, because I could just tell things were different. And so I went from thinking I was relatively healthy to them messing up my uterus. I want baby to push me out, no baby, this for the last couple of years or so of my childbearing years. But mashallah, it's all good. I've been wanting to adopt anyway, so let me know in comments or something, like if you're going through anything like this, if you are going through this right now. I would love to hear what you have to say about it, any of your sage advice or anything, because I absolutely believe in female energy pushing me forward. I cannot navigate this world on my own, not at all. So with that, I'm gonna say peace, and sorry for this long behind video.